Okay. I'll see if I have a little time.
When we look at the heel simply as the malchut,
What?
just say, why don't we look at the heel of Esau as the highest intensity of malchut, and by Yaakov holding it, meaning Israel can control the left side and the malchut, which is the strongest part. All the weight goes on the heel when you stand.
Right.
And so you want to control malchut, you want to be in control.
Right. You want to control the Achilles. You want to control Satan. That's right. But the problem was what he said before. How do you know it's Satan? That's the problem. That we must control it, and we must hold on to it, and we must go with the same deceitfulness. Therefore it said, if he comes against you, kill him. Kill him. How do you know he's coming against you to kill him? Well, I assumed. So we call it homicide. We don't call it intentional. I assume.
Go to Kabbalah
Manslaughter.
classes.
What?
Go to Kabbalah classes.
Manslaughter.
All right.
They said about the children, they said depend on where the consciousness of the parents is or whether they thought is how the children are going to come. That's how the nation what they're going to throw down. So how come Yaakov has Yitzchak has a Yaakov in his mind and Esau in his mind at the same time? That's why he drew the.
We didn't answer that yet. We didn't answer how did Esau get involved over here?
How could it come from?
How could it come from Yitzchak and Rivka? We didn't answer that question.
The other question is that if you look at the zodiac map, both of them has the same time, the same thing. How come two people that come from one zodiac, they
Same
have so much different of the plan to do?
You mean later on we see that
Tomim, they have they have everything exactly the same, except the Gilgul probably.
that's the difference.
They're exactly diametrically opposite.
The Gilgul.
They're right, but they're diametrically opposite. Kedusha, one is left, Esav, right?
Yeah, but on the other, on the normal Tomim, they born the same parents, the same time, the same year, but they have two different personalities.
Two different girls, right?
Yeah.
Well, one is born after the other, so already there's in the chart.
There's a whole study about twins, that one twin could be one way, one twin could be the other. They feel each other, they have the same emotions, everything.
Right.
There was a whole study about twins.
Right.
How the identical twins could be in different countries. They feel
Right,
the same
and yet
emotions.
one can feel.
They'll be married on the same year.
They were not. They were not identical twins.
No, they couldn't.
They were
no,
fraternal
no.
twins. They had to be fraternal twins.
Of course.
Because even the appearance of the two were the opposite.
That's right.
One was
They didn't
red
look.
and
They
hairy
didn't
and
look
the other
alike. That's right. Even physically, they didn't even
They
look
were
alike.
not
But
identical
on the
twins.
normal twin, how can we
There are two kinds. One's called identical, and the other is called fraternal twins.
That's right.
One is when the
They're born
egg
just
splits,
born at this
and one is when two seeds are fertilized by two separate sperm.
at the same time.
Which is what you saw there.
I see.
So why?
Which is probably what happened here in.
Why? Because you have two diametrically the same but diametrically opposite. In other words, you had the left side of Kedusha, left, totally left side of Torah.
And then this is Esau was a Satan. That's what we say.
Yes,
Nakash.
clear, total. The total encapsulation of the Nachash.
Then how we can say that his Gilgul is the leader of the Christian people? His next Gilgul is Messiah. So
Yeah.
what can be?
Oh. Esau?
Isn't it? I think his Gilgul of Esau is the.
Why?
Where was that?
I think I read in
Esau
one of
is
the
the
books.
Gilgul of
Clip
Messiah?
of- The clip of Esau, that his Gilgul is the. Yeah. That we don't say the name usually in the temple, but I heard that.
Really?
Yeah.
Esau's head is very,
Who?
Yaakov's
Right.
right?
What?
They say it's the head of Esav in
The head of
Hebron.
Esav is buried where Yaakov is.
Right.
That's right, in
His head
Hebron.
was okay according to either Ali or the Zohar, from what I learned from the classes. That Esav really had the light, only he was not controlled. And since the head is the three upper,
The keter, which is not affected.
that part was okay. The seven lower Sefirot, which have to do with Malchut,
There's a Marechet Atumad where there's 10 Sfirot,
has to be also
10 Sfirot of negativity.
Has to be kept. Lavan was total light, wasn't he? He was transcendental light. That's why he was Lavan. It was white.
now by the same
Right?
token, yes, exactly. By the same token, where
Is that
there's
right?
highest amount of Kedusha, Satan going to show up right there and then.
No. It was even like what I want to tell you about Lavan, even though he was named Lavan, but he was unrestricted energy. So he wasn't positive, but he was negative.
It
Okay?
was not controlled.
He
It was
had
not
no
honest,
control.
like
That's
the
right.
Rav said.
It was transcendental energy that was not geared into a vessel. Therefore, that's why they called him Lavan. He had a tremendous power, but he had no viaduct to use
But
it.
the Nachash, Satan is not that.
No, Satan is
That's
very clever.
that's another aspect.
Satan is very clever.
That's right. That's right.
Satan is not
Another thing about Akev is equated the Mashiach. Call him.
Right.
It's called the
Ikvit the Mashiach. Also, Ekev, the Ekev of the time of Ikvit the Mashiach, meaning the time of the revelation of Mashiach. The word that's used is the same word Ekev. Why do they use the word Ekev?
What's a zekir? Does it have a meaning in itself?
Meaning where there's total control. What does Mashiach mean? Where there's total control over Satan.
Does it have any other meaning aside from
Ekev also means because. Ekev, you remember Ekev Tishmiun? There's a Parshat called Ekev.
You're right.
All right.
Cause, meaning
Okay.
cause.
We'll stop over here.
Another question: why was Yaakov that came with Esau and Esau didn't come with his negative part? Or Abraham
Esav
didn't
was
come?
negative. Esav was negative.
Yaakov was born into this world, to the Malchut, with Esau.
Right.
Why this thing didn't happen with
I mean, like Avram, why didn't have Yishmael? And why did it have to be two separate women? Okay, Yaakov, we know. Yaakov, we know he had to come out complete. So you have no question.
It's like another one.
Why here was it together, and there it wasn't. Oh, yeah, okay. Because Avram was chesed, we said, right? The dominion was chesed. So, a child of Yaakov, a child of Avram that would emerge, could not be Satan, could not be an Esau, because he didn't have the quality of the intensity of negativity as Yitzchak.
That's why Yishmael is not negative.
Therefore,
That's why Yishmael is not negative. Really.
but therefore, that's why Yishmael is not negative. But you can still ask why couldn't Yishmael come from Abraham and Sarah?
Who?
Yishmael.
He did. From
No, from Yishmael, from Sarah. And why did it have to come from Hagar? Why did he have to come from Hagar? Because if he came from Sarah, then there could. What's the problem with Yishmael? What's the problem if he's chesed? What's the problem with Yishmael? The difference between Avram and Yishmael is Avram is a controlled chesed. So we know you can destroy Chas v'sholom a child by being over generous with the child. Where does that come from? Not from Avram. Avram was a balanced chesed. The imbalance. So if Yishmael came from Sarah, there would be no such thing as an imbalance in chesed. That's why the Arab is so hospitable, and he gets overwhelmed with being hospitable. There's an overwhelmness over there, meaning more and over and above a balance. Therefore, if he came from Sarah, there would be a total balance of chesed. Where would the negativity come from? So therefore, from Haggah came that aspect of an overindulgence in chesed. Nice question.
So it has to be go one step beyond that. Abraham himself, why he came along.
What do you mean?
It's the only neshama that they take it out of.
What?
So why Abraham was only one person? Because Abraham
And not what? And not
I
what?
understand that Jacob came because each identity has a positive part and a
Right.
negative part.
Right.
And Jacob was the positive, the right part of the central column,
Right.
and Esau was the left part of the central column.
Right.
Right.
Where was Abraham left part? Left part of the
Where is Abraham sleeping?
Chesed.
Well, we know that he was inclusive of negativity, but he was so powerfully involved in the right column that the left column had no Avram.
Not Abraham. Abraham, once with the,
When he became with the hay,
that's right,
right?
became the balance of the
Balance,
chesed.
right?
But when he was born Avram.
That's
he wasn't
right.
born Abraham.
Therefore,
Didn't have a balance.
when he gave birth to Ishmael, it was when he was Avram, right? If I remember,
Before
course.
was it, when he was born, he was Abraham.
Avram. That's right. Not a balance of the chesed,
It was through the Brit Milah that he became balanced.
right?
They were twins. You know why? Because that's where we finally find the central column, the left and the right. Fine. First
That's
was
right.
one
He was
chesed.
only Avram when he married.
Then
Hagar.
first was one Gevurah. Now you have Chesed and Gevurah. To balance into a central column was born twins. One from the left and one from the right.
Who? By Yisrael?
By Yitzchak.
Yes, and what do you
Because
want to say
forming
with
the
that?
central column, which was
Right.
Yaakov. Therefore they were twins by Yitzchak. Abraham was Chesed.
Right.
Yitzchak was Gevurah. Right? Now, to be born out from there, right? Do the duality, the total left and the total right came Yaakov
And
and Esav.
Right, and before it couldn't
And
be.
before it couldn't be.
That's right.
In other words, when Abraham
You understand
was
what
born,
I'm saying?
there was no negative.
There wasn't.
No.
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 And
That's why
when Yitzchak
Ishmael was born
Gevurah.
without a balance. In other words, when he became Abraham,
Right.
when he became Abraham, then it became balanced.
And from Abraham could come Isaac. Because without the hay of Malchut, there couldn't be Gevurah.
Each, when Abraham was born,
Right.
and
right.
Isaac was born, each had to come separate.
Separate.
The Chesed has to be established and Gevurah has to be established.
For there to
Then
build into a central
create
column.
the central
That's
column.
right.
And central
That's
column has to.
That's right. And only because, like the Zohar said, that Yisroel took Rivka.
Right.
That then he himself also became balanced, right? That he could produce a Yaakov. And not he could only produce a Yitzchak, an Esav. There would be no balance. But now he had both qualities. He had what was there before and what was there later.
Now on Shabbat, you're going to continue for what we're learning. Not go over this, go over this.
Well, just to mention maybe what we want to. Okay, well, we were thinking.
Why don't you do Tikkun?
We'll say Tikkun Chatzot now. Those who want to still stay, we'll do Tikkun Chatzot.